there does seem to be a lot of that these days, where you apply evolution, Darwin's evolution, that type of thinking to just about everything.
Right.
And so you have people talking about, the multiverse theory and things like that. And I mean, those are interesting, but I kind of feel like we're getting a little bit beyond what we can really know at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like kind of an elaborate theory to invent just to.
Well, what you do is you make a speculative philosophy portion of your channel and just toss it all in that and then you're safe to go.
Right.
Yeah, you say.
Well, I think it's tempting for someone that wants to uphold a materialist cosmology, biology, psychology, in order to really find a mechanism that can explain complexity without anything other than material parts sort of colliding with one another in this mindless way. So to take Darwin's mechanism and expand it to cover everything, I think is a very tempting path to take. I don't think it's adequate. I think it almost does a disservice to Darwin's theory, because people are trying to stretch what Darwin was actually trying to account for himself way beyond what his theory can actually account for, I think. And what I think...
and way beyond what the evidence actually says.
Right. Because obviously there is natural selection that takes place in the biological world, and that theory can explain the diversity of species. It can't explain the origin of life. I don't think it can explain the origin of culture.
Evolution, no.
Right. Or the origin of culture, I would argue.
Evolution of culture, maybe. I think there's more relevance in terms of describing culture in that way than describing universes in that way. But
why would you say that? I mean, are you talking about like the mimetic theory of evolution?
Right. Well, that's some ideas tend to survive better than other ideas.
Right.
The idea of religion, for one thing. I mean, that's obviously a very powerful idea that has. I mean, suppose I'm trying to think. Maybe religion was universal at the beginning of culture. Everyone had some kind of belief in supernatural things and in afterlives, but if they weren't, I can imagine that the religious ones would quickly convert or kill everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we take a Darwinian view of culture, though, doesn't that sort of prevent us from understanding any particular memes as being more valuable than others, or somehow more civilized or more advanced? Doesn't it just flatten everything out at that point?
Well, no, because I think the Darwinian view of culture, I mean, obviously, I don't think it's a complete view, and it's just like a metaphor to explain the origins of certain ideas, but it doesn't. I don't think it should go on to say that means they're all equally valid, except in how readily they are transferred and repeated.
Right.
I think just because I believe something because of my culture doesn't mean that I'm correct.
Right, but it seems like we would want to avoid a sort of social Darwinist picture where that morality or that culture, which survives by either killing off everyone else or just converting everyone else, is somehow the best. That seems...
Well, no. I mean, as with biological evolution, this is by no means the way things ought to be, but it doesn't tend to be the way they are.
Yeah. It's the ought and the should that I think somewhat transcends a Darwinian picture of evolution, be it biological or cultural. You can't really explain the ought in Darwinian terms.
Yeah, it's almost like this new dimension comes along with survival, because humans are so social and we take care of one another, or we try to, at least the people that that reflect parts of ourselves who we resonate with. So if we continue this I think primitive form of evolution, it would just be the strongest survive. It would be the biggest, the skinny guys like me and the small guys like you would get thrown out. So obviously there's this new social dimension, this intersubjective kind of flavor that's just, it's putting another wrench in the kink, but things are we're trugging along here. I mean, as a culture. And some people think, with the development of technology that goes hand in hand with culture, we might develop along to we might be the very end. Our developing technology might be the very end. But then the other argument is
Yeah,
it might be the
we
very
just-
savior, I guess, if you, in a
Right.
metaphorical sense, not like
Mhm.
Jesus savior.
The end, like we destroy ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So it seems to be like this almost a horse race between these polarities, like destruction and creation, or solution and problem, with technology, with culture, with isms, with philosophies. So it's just this big puzzle. I mean, what's your part in it? Do you want to have any part in it? Do you assume any responsibility for trying to make a difference, or is it just some objective thing out there that I don't have it. It's not my responsibility. I can do whatever I want. I don't mean to put that position too. I don't want to narrow it down, but are you somewhere in the middle on that? I mean, what's your take on all of this? I know it's a big question, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, I think individuals obviously make a difference. I mean, people always say, why should you, you shouldn't vote because it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, yeah, but if everyone thinks that, then no one votes. And so I mean, yeah, individual has to be important because an individual is the most basic part of the whole. So,
yeah,
Right.
I'm on board with that. So,
Right.
okay.
Well, I also wanted to talk to you about music a little bit,
Okay.
Nicotine, because
yeah.
I think there are many ways of having whatever you want to call it, ecstatic experiences, mystical experiences, spiritual experiences, and
Yeah.
music for a lot of people is the inroads into that sort of a state of consciousness. So
Yeah.
is it that way for you?
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Why do you think music does that? Or what is it about music? Is it the emotional quality or?
Yeah, it's really strange, isn't it? I sometimes find myself listening to, we'll say like Bach or something, completely instrumental music, no words, no meaning except this abstract form of art, and having these like intensely pleasurable emotional reactions to it. And I'm just sitting there thinking, why the hell is this so good? Like, it doesn't make sense because I mean you look at it on the paper and it's attractive to look at, but when you hear it and just feel the experience of this sound that you're experiencing, it's a completely different thing. It's just I don't even know.
Nick, if I could make a suggestion, I think you're doing a little bit of it right now. Like you did in that video, you had like a schizophrenic multi-personality. I think you should go with an artistic side of you and then the rational side.
Yeah.
And the rational side is always usually the more funny. It's so funny to have atheist comics and the purely rational, because they just sit and they look. They're just objective, and you part of you gets it. That's why you're laughing. This part of you is very rational, but then there's this part of you that understands music, and just this other way that this rational part of you will never understand. And here's a quote from Berthold Arbach. I think Arbach. Is that pronounced his name?
I have no idea. Arbach.
But he says music washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. So for some people, it seems like it's just this escape. It's just like this has this rejuvenative quality, and maybe music and creativity can do that. So is it like this balancing act, and what do you think about that split personality idea or suggestion? Does that seem like something you could do?
I mean, I could do that. I could do a thing where I have like my reasonable character, trying to explain the musical experience in terms of I don't know, temporal lobe function or something.
Yeah.
And then the other guy talking about transcendent.
It just does seem funny, but then if you reflect on that a bit, it does seem like some kind of perspective that can hold both of them, and then just look at them both seems to be more real. Can we call that more? Yeah. If you want, whatever that is, it's objectifying both of these and saying like both those are both my children, and I love them both even though they're different. You ever heard a parent say that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing going on. I mean, do you ever notice that? If you reflect on things like to bring it back to this deeper reflection.
Paradoxicality of
yes, this deeper reflection that we talked about, like with Descartes and.
In my opinion, taking a rational stance towards something doesn't in any way take away from the experience itself. Mm-hmm. Like often I use music theory for an example. Like, is music theory a form of reductionism? Like as you might be able to argue. Like I remember, because I was at a music school for 2 years, and I remember like analyzing every freaking note of these little Bach inventions and things.
Yeah.
And because you have to learn how to write them, and so you have to reduce everything to motifs and to little sections of
Same
things
thing
that you're repeating here and there and transposing around, and you reduce that to the note, and then once you've done all that, it doesn't in any way take away from the overall experience once you return to the whole thing.
Right. So I think music will forever remain a mystery, and we're definitely not going to be able to solve it right now because the battery on my camcorder is about to die.
Okay.
So we'll have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But definitely appreciate you coming on, Nicotine.
Yeah.
Yes. Appreciate it, Nick.
Thanks for having me. All right.
Adios, brother.
Nice.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right. Yeah. No problem. See you guys.